You're listening to Elite Radio, the podcast for repair shop owners by repair shop owners. Hi, I'm Darrin Barney here at Elite Radio and the Coach's Corner here today to talk with Bryan Lagas and Joe Marconi here to talk about the relationships that can develop with the coaching program and just to be able to kind of showcase some of the awesome people that we have working with us on the Elite team. So let's start, right now, Bryan, you're in the top left-hand corner of my screen. So let's start with you, man. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Name is Bryan Lagas. I've been the owner of my current company, SpeedSport Tuning, otherwise known as SST Auto, since 2019. I started running this company in about 2015 for the previous owner, and had the opportunity to purchase it in 2019. And I did so, obviously, and have been doing that since then. But prior experience, I had another shop, basically the same exact concept as this one, that I owned in Colorado, out by you, Darrin, and I ran that place for 10 years. So that's kind of where I got my intro into the shop ownership world, and I've been building on it ever since. And in more recent years, I've kind of linked up with Joe and with Elite, and tried to continue my education and my ability to run a company, because obviously, no matter how long you do it, you never have all the answers, right? So it's always
Right.
good to have an industry peer and somebody that you can relate to, and somebody that can understand what you're going through and get some real world advice from. So that's kind of where I'm at. But a little bit about my company: I have a fairly sizable operation for this industry and what we do in the independently owned world. But we're a very German centric company, primarily Porsche oriented. Four departments here. We have a couple of service departments. One for all the European brands, primarily German stuff. Audi and Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, etc. And then full dedicated Porsche service department. We also have a motorsport division, and we have a vintage Porsche division, and then there's some vehicle transport stuff in on top of that. So it kind of helps facilitate what we do. In addition to another kind of leg, which is a storage program, vehicle storage program, which I have in another building. So a couple of buildings, about 35,000 square feet combined. Think I'm up to 34 employees, and I have 5 interns working here right now, and a couple of part-time guys. So we're a full house.
You got a big
Yeah,
team there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when it was discussed, about who to bring on for these podcasts, it's like you were one of the first ones that kept coming up, and it's like, and I've heard about you numerous times in the past, and I mean, I've had a couple of your students go through the master's program. I mean, it's like you're awesome, and I was so excited that you're able to join us today. So thank you very much for taking the time to be here, and it's honestly an honor to to have you on the podcast with us. So thank you for that,
Thank you.
Mr.
It's my
Joe.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me just piggyback on Bryan. He's been a little modest. I've been to his facility, because it's not that far from me. I'm in New York. He's right over the border in Danbury, Connecticut, which is about 30 minutes away. And the first time I was at his facility, I was like a kid in the candy store. I walked around. It's a large facility. There's old vintage Porsches from the 60s. There's the motorsport division with all the race cars, the machine shop where his team is rebuilding these Porsches. It's just amazing. It brought me back to the time when I first started as a young kid, right out of high school, in the muscle car era. Although the muscle cars were different, and hanging out at the racetrack. My racetrack was the drag strip. Brian's different. Brian takes to another level, but it's just amazing business. So this is a testament to who Brian is, his ability to understand how to put the time in, put the right people in place. So it's just an amazing business, Brian. I tip my hat to you. I really do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate it,
yeah,
Joe. That I take that very seriously from a guy like you. Being in the industry as long as you have, and seeing all these different operations that you work with, and
yeah, yeah.
I do take that compliment and appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing too. When I first met you at the Fly with the Eagles course, I was very impressed by you. But then when I looked at your business and had the opportunity to become your coach, I looked at your business. Wow, this is really something that I need and want. And it came at the right time because I just had sold my business that December. I came at the 21, so I sold my company, and here to have the opportunity to work with someone, a company like yours, which has multiple divisions. It was just came at the right time. I really look forward to it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
on a funny note, when I looked into signing up after doing the Eagles course, I
yeah,
said I want to work with that guy. I want Joe. I had the Eagles course with yourself
yeah,
and with Kevin Vaught, and both of
yeah,
you are extremely
yeah,
knowledgeable. And I said that
yeah,
guy, I can work with
yeah,
him. He thinks
yeah.
like me.
There you go. Or from the Northeast, right?
Yeah, right.
Connecticut, New York. It's almost the same thing. So, a little bit about me. I started in the business as a kid. My father was in the business, so I grew up in the gas station business. And I was, it was normal for my father to say to me, I was 13. In other words, if the car needed a little bit of work, whatever, before you go to school, I want you to do this, this, and that. So that's how that's how I grew up in the business. So this is the only business I've ever been in. I tried going to college, but that didn't work out. So, but the funny thing is when I was growing up, I never thought I would be in this business. But once I left after 2 semesters of college, I left, I got a job pumping gas. Back then you didn't have the automatic pumps. You actually had to pump gas. So I was a gas attendant, and I just loved the business. It brought everything back from my roots as a kid, and the rest is history. So I started as a technician in 1970s, worked for a few different automotive repair shops, gas stations, dealership experience. Then in 1980, I opened up my own repair shop in Baldwin Place, New York, and that was October 1st, 1980. And expanded that business, kept on expanding it. Eventually, I grew a 4 bay into a 6 bay to a 7 bay to a two facility, 11 bay facility. Then I got another location about 10 miles away and a satellite location for spillover work that was like in between those two locations because we were just, handling so much work. Um, in the mid 90s, I got involved with Elite, Bob Cooper and Elite. So, and that really changed my life. It's one of the reasons why I coach today because I know that no matter how well you're doing or there's always, like Brian said earlier, there's always that element of you don't really know, and to bounce things off of to keep people accountable, that's a big part of your success. So that was really pivotal point in my life in the mid 90s to late 90s. So I continued to grow. I was lucky enough also in about 2011 or 12, I'm not really sure of the year now, but to become a coach working with Elite. So that was really good. That was setting myself up for my future, my second career, which would be, coaching, doing training. I do fly with the Eagles course, and I work with Darrin Barney and Kevin Vaught, another business coach for Elite, and we do a lot of work behind the scenes, just helping the industry. So that's who we are now. I'm loving it. Um, I had 41 years as a shop owner, grew the company to a point where, I didn't have to be there, but time came where it was enough and time to let go. So, just lucky to be here, Darren. I want to thank you again. I want to thank Brian again for allowing us to have this three-way podcast. So, thanks again.
It's great. Yeah, thank you, Joe. And it's funny. Brian mentioned earlier about going to the Eagles and then seeing Joe and going, I want to have that guy as my coach. And I had the same thought. I went with my brother in 17, and it was a life changing event for me when I went. And it was like, wow, these guys actually know their stuff. Holy cow! And like you hear all these good things, and you're like, oh my
Mhm.
goodness. At that point, I had just joined the coaching program, and it was for me, it was just like, wow, I'm in the right place because there's so much energy and so much
Yeah,
just feedback and just that great
yeah,
feeling that
yeah.
helps you know that
Well, and I
you're in the
think
right place. So.
to piggyback on that a little bit, Darren, I've been doing this for a while, obviously, and I had previous experience, with other companies, and I wouldn't really call them coaching oriented companies, but all the various programs and whatnot that are out there that you can learn about business and this and that, and never had a good experience with any of them. And I was always very skeptical after that as to what is a company like Elite really going to be able to do for me. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been successful on my own. Why
Yeah,
do I need a coach? Why do I
yeah,
need advice from a company like Elite? Because like I said, previous companies, they go over such such basic strategies, what I considered to be basic strategies, and
Yeah.
there was always kind of a sales pitch behind it, and it just never seemed like an up and up type of scenario. But right off the rip with Elite, I felt very comfortable because, obviously the kind of strict policy that you guys follow, never put money before people. And I mean, that stood out to me right off the bat. And then,
Yeah.
realizing that it was not like an underlying sales pitch where, everybody else gets to benefit off of this experience. No, it really is geared towards people like me that, want to have a solid resource in the industry to work with. And how many of us that own shops or businesses in general have a person that we can go to and say, hey, I have this problem or that problem, like, what's your opinion?
Yeah.
We don't have that because,
Right.
all of our friends, all of our other peers, like, they don't have the experience that we do in the industry that we're in. So
Yeah.
this is such a great
Yeah.
resource for anybody who's looking, to better themselves as a business owner or better their own business and make it more profitable or more efficient or
Right.
whatever it is that
Right.
you're trying to accomplish.
I mean,
Well, yeah. Well, I'm sorry,
no,
Darren.
you're good. You go ahead, Joe. You're good, man.
To that point, I think one of the and not to toot my own horn, but what I try to do, and I know other coaches feel the same. We try to understand your business. It's not a boilerplate. It's not a templated strategy. We really try to learn your business, although it's basically the same in terms of understanding the auto repair business. And for many shops, it is the same, but the business models differ just slightly, and that's what makes it. That's what makes it in a way, building a strategy that conforms to your business will always enhance your business a different way. Plus, it's easier for us because in this way, we learn to understand that we have to develop a relationship. And once you have the relationship, get to know your business, begin to form that bond, and that bond it cannot exist and can't develop if we just take a boilerplate approach to this. And so I think, to your point, what we try to do is understand the different business models out there, and then we adjust our strategies knowing from our background and what we do at Elite to make all the enhancements to your business the way you would want them made. So that's I think is the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one thing that I love about Elite and what we do is that we're very specific on our coaches and how we get them selected because they have to be previous shop owners. And when we do that coach selection pairing process, just like we did even with you, Joe, I mean,
Yeah.
talking with Brian and we had the notes from Mike about what his strengths were, what he was really wanting help with, and then we all met together and we talked about who's going to be the best
Right.
coach for
Right.
Brian, personality wise, business wise. I mean, where you want to go for the future, all those things, and then we can actually do that coach pairing process. And
Correct.
that's what I
Yeah.
love about working with Elite is that once again we have great coaches that were successful shop owners.
Yeah.
They're not just some guy that we give them a boilerplate and say, here you go, follow the rules here. It's like, no,
No, that's not what
they
it is at
know.
all. Yeah. And this
No.
is really,
So
and we do this, we do get, don't get me wrong, we do get paid for it, but I can make this statement, a blanket statement. The coaches don't do it for the money. They're all successful business owners. They're all successes in their own right. And many of them don't have
right,
shops anymore. They just, like me, they retire from their shops. But we do it because we really want to give back. We want to help. We know the struggles of business in the automotive business world. Plus, we know the rewards. We know that you can
right,
develop an amazing business. And I think that's why we do it. We want to pick up where we left off. And if I could somehow make a difference in someone's lives by just tapping into something that I learned and maybe wasn't able to do because maybe I ran out of time in my business. That's the magic of the coaching program. It really is.
right. So Brian, I got to ask. I mean, what do you think the biggest pros of having a coach are for you and your business?
Well, again, I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, but the idea that I don't have anyone that I can actually speak to about my business in my own life other than Joe. I have my business development manager here in house, and the two of us work closely together every single day. And of course, she has a full understanding of what's going on here. But you try to talk to anybody else out in the real world about an automotive shop, or probably any business for that matter, because the large majority of people out there are not business owners. They punch a
Right.
clock and they collect a paycheck, and not to say that they don't work hard and they don't have difficult jobs. They do, but they just are not immersed in the world of
Yeah, I
business and the
agree.
challenges that it
Yeah.
presents. So for that
Yeah.
fact alone, to have somebody like Joe that I can talk to on a regular basis. I mean, he makes it clear that he's always available to me for a text or a phone call or an email. But just on our weekly meetings alone, like, it really gives us a chance for me to just kind of vent all of the things that are going on, and get his feedback. And of course, I'm accustomed to doing everything by myself. I'm one of these OCD people that it's not, it's got to be done just like this, and I do it this way, and that's the way it needs to
Yeah.
be. And I've backed
Yeah.
off of that stuff a lot. Actually, at Joe's recommendation, he's encouraged me to delegate a lot of my tasks off to my highly qualified employees that I'm paying lots of
Yeah.
money
Of
to
course.
to do their
Yeah.
jobs. And
Yeah.
I'm still one of those people who's like, well, no, it's mine, it's my responsibility, I can do this the right way. And but at the end of the day, that's a good example of how he can help me, is like, no, let that stuff go, delegate those
Yeah.
things. And it's
Yeah.
not just
Right.
because you're trying to offload your workload. Here's all the other benefits.
No.
Here's how it helps the
No.
employees. Here's what it does for them. And builds confidence in them and makes them feel like they have a piece of this. And so those types of advice on a weekly basis, to me, is just tremendous. And it's not to say that I'm a fairly smart guy. I kind of know what I'm
Right.
doing, but to hear it from somebody who's been in the industry for so long, and I know has my best interest at heart,
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
it puts an extra weight in the
Right.
conversations that we have. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, I mean, like we were talking about, we said this offline. We were just talking about how it's just that non-emotional person, and that guy that loves your business almost as much as you do, and
Yeah.
is there to just kind of help you. And yet you got somebody in your corner, that's not there every day, that doesn't have the emotional ties
Yeah.
to maybe the people or the way you've been doing things. And a coach can come in and just kind of give you well, yeah, but what about this? And it's like, well, no, that won't work. And it's like, well, wait a minute here. Just because you've been living in the battle every day,
mhm.
you got somebody to come in and just give you a fresh perspective. It's like, yeah, just got to crest this next hill and you're going to win the
Yeah,
battle.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just that outside
Yeah. Yeah.
influence and fresh perspective. The 40,000 foot view that we were talking about
That's what
earlier.
it's all about. Yep.
It
It's
is.
true.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, you
cool.
really get you get little tidbits. It's I'm sure that the variety or diversity of clientele that you guys have is from one end of the spectrum to the other, right? You have a guy who's just getting started, doesn't know anything about business, and needs the
Yeah.
basics, right? And that's a huge thing to have a resource like you guys to learn from. But then there's also people that are all along that spectrum, all the way up to
Right.
upper
It's true.
levels. And everywhere in there's something that can always be learned, or a different perspective can help with. And that's where
It's
I'm
true.
at with it. Is I initially signed up thinking that I know a lot. I know what I'm doing. I've done this for many years. Like, I'm successful, but I don't know
Yeah.
everything. Nobody does. So
Right.
let's give it a shot and let's see where it goes. And maybe there's improvements and there's things that I can learn. And that's exactly the way it's played out. There's in our weekly
Yeah.
conversations, there's always something that pops up that's valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I mean, that's something that's so important for, people to understand. I mean, you hear of just like yourself, you already were running a successful business. You already were doing extremely well, but yet you knew that you just needed to raise the bar a little bit and figure out what else you don't know. And that's the guys that are really successful. When you can actually admit the fact that you don't know it all. Let's keep learning. Let's keep
Yeah,
growing.
yeah.
Because I have people that have told me, they're like, well, I'm good. I really don't need a coach. I've already got this dialed in. And it's like,
yeah.
That's true, but you might be leaving
you'd be
something on the table
surprised,
you don't know about. That's my
Yeah.
perspective. It's
Yeah,
like there's always something to learn. There always. You can never
right.
stop learning.
There is. Yeah. I
Well,
mean, that's part of the fun of doing what we do, is continuing to push ourselves in life, making the most of what we got.
Yeah.
What are you going to say, Joe? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt you,
I just
buddy.
that sometimes what happens, and if you notice, Brian, I ask a lot of questions. And I ask a lot of questions. What about this? What about this? What about? And I point out things. What about this? Because I know that, like Bob Cooper used to say, when two minds meet, a third one appears.
Yep.
And sometimes by just speaking and interaction, bringing up these things, because sometimes, Brian, no matter what you're doing and how successful you may be, and you are, there's when you're in the trenches, sometimes you don't see it. And before I give a piece of advice, I rather ask the questions for you to say, "Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there you go. There you go." And then you take ownership of that. So, yeah, it's a like I said earlier, it's really developing a relationship that's really directed toward understanding your business model and then who you are too. Because we have an expression at Elite that when we start coaching, we have to work on the person first, find out who the person is first, and then we work on the business. Because, and again, that goes back to what I said earlier too, that we don't take a boilerplate approach to this. We really get hands on, and we get specific about that particular business.
I mean, you just never know. To use a boilerplate approach can't work. If you were to go to Brian and you're like, "Hey, Brian, this week we're going to be focusing on your mission statement, and this is what we have to do
Yeah,
next." And Brian's like, "I already have a mission statement. I'm already way past that." It's one of those things
yeah,
that's what
of
I love
course.
about the
Well,
coaching program
and
is
and
that you can
and
really work on what they need.
yeah, I'm
You
not
know,
going to get into the numbers of this because numbers don't mean anything. But when you look at Brian's business and some of his margins, they don't line up where you read about in the trade magazines. It should be this,
right?
this, and this. They don't line up. They just don't line up. And when I first looked at it, I said to myself, "Hold on, Joe. Learn. You have to. This is a different business now. But if you look at the bottom line, that's what you got to look at. If you look at the what he's producing in sales, what he's doing, and what the potential is like whoop. So again, if someone coming in and is going to take a benchmark boilerplate numbers approach, the numbers don't line up, Brian. Right?
Yeah,
We've
no.
talked about this, but
If you
yet,
compared me to
yeah.
industry standards, I'd be a failing business right now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I
Me
hate,
too, Brian.
and I'm not going to mention numbers here, but I put those numbers up against anybody else out there. So, because it's you, and again, well, because the old saying is you don't pay your bills or deposit percentages. It's the dollars you're worried about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and yeah, so yeah, again, it's understanding the business and the person and the needs of that particular person and the needs of the company.
And that's what you were saying too about asking a lot of questions. That's important because you have never come to me and said, like Darren was saying earlier, that today's objective is we're going to do this, this, and this, or
No, no,
because that that doesn't make sense. I mean, you are really being inquisitive to try to find out what what am I missing. Like you
right,
said, I'm in the trenches. I'm
right.
dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah,
I got my
yeah,
priorities,
yeah,
but you might say to me, "Oh, well, have you thought about this? Have you worked on that?" And I could say, "Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's done. Don't worry about it." Or, "Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't think about that at all. Thanks, Joe. Let's let
It's
that's
been
that,
5 years
add
since I
that
looked
on
at
the
that.
top of the priority
That's
list."
exactly it. And, yeah, and that's the beauty of coach. That's the magic of coaching. It really is. Yeah, yeah,
Well, you got, I mean, I know I said this earlier, but it's true. You got somebody in your corner, this parent pulling for you. I mean, once again, Brian and I were talking about this offline. It's like you got a coach that when you're having struggles in your business and you have a hardship, you got to get one of your key guys just quit, whatever it is, your coach is worried about it too. I can guarantee
no,
that they're losing sleep about it and they're thinking about it. And you've got another mind there pulling
yeah.
for you and wanting to see you succeed,
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. It's funny how that happens. It's amazing how that happens. We take it very seriously. And when we see it's like watching your like your son or your daughter excel at a sport. Like when your kid hits a home run, I didn't hit it, but you feel so good about it, right? So when Brian has a great week, I feel wow, I'm energized, and it doesn't impact me financially, but it impacts me emotionally. So
Right.
yeah, it's just amazing. It's just simply amazing. That's why I
So I got
love
to ask a
coaching.
question here
Yeah.
that it's a little bit off center. I mean,
Okay.
but was there ever a time, Brian, where Joe pushed you a little bit further than you think he should have?
uh, no, I would say no. But at the end of some of the meetings that I've had with him, and he always sends me a follow-up email, which is great because we kind of he lists out everything that we went over and all the topics that we touched on, and progress we've made so far, and here's kind of a list of tasks, he calls them. And
Right.
some of
Yeah.
those emails, it might be one task, it might be seven tasks, and I look at them and I'm like,
Yeah.
Joe, man, how much stuff I got here. Look at my desk right now, and it's like Joe just added 7 more things to my week, in reality,
Right.
they are all in line with what I'm already doing anyway. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
you look at the list and you feel like it's a daunting thing, but you just start clicking them off like anything else, and they're all
That's
they're all
cool.
they're all making progress towards the end game anyway. So
Right.
it's always good. It's always good.
Yeah, but if you don't get to them, I say, I just resend it.
Yeah, no, he doesn't ride me. He says, "Hey, it's my job. I got to keep reminding you. We talked about this."
I just
Yeah.
resend next way. It's
Hey, what
funny,
do we
right?
do here? What are you going to do here?
Well,
I mean,
and
that's part of the game.
But we,
but
you know,
Brian, I
we
understand that. I
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Well, of
part of it,
course.
right? You understand. You're not a teacher assigning homework that needs to be done no
No.
matter what. It's like, no, you get it. You're running a business. You got priorities. You got to triage your day every day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you get to the stuff when you can. And I've had
Yeah.
tasks that Joe and I have been working on, and I put them off for weeks and weeks and weeks because it's like I
Yeah.
just don't have
Yeah.
the time.
It's okay.
But I do
Yeah.
get to it because I know I got a list
Yeah.
and I go back to it and we
Yeah.
click them off. So it
Yeah.
takes a
And
little time.
yeah,
It's not
I
going to
know.
happen overnight.
Yeah. I lived your world, Brian. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're going through. I lived it, but I do know also that when I'm when I'm forced to think differently and forced to act on something differently, you always improve. You always excel in everything else. So
Mhm.
that's why I keep doing it. And I'll never scold you. So
No.
it's like you're going to the principal's office. You didn't do your homework. That's not the way it is. But I'll just resend that email
Yeah.
two, three, four
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
I,
Well, and accountability is a
yeah,
thing, I mean, even
Right.
for,
yeah,
for
It
for
is.
guys like us and people in this industry that are business owners that are generally pretty self-motivated and always trying to do the right thing and get it all done.
yeah,
The just the fact that Joe might remind me about something, because
Right.
I got my own lists and I got my own priorities and things I'm working on, and before you know it, 6 months goes by and you haven't done it yet because it's everything
yeah,
else gets in the way. You
yeah,
get 100 emails
yeah,
a day and all the things that we get distracted
yeah,
with,
Of
right?
course.
yeah,
But to have
yeah.
somebody there to say, "Hey, did you make any progress on this?" And again, he's not
What are we
he's
doing
not
here?
beating me up on it, but he's just a
Right.
gentle reminder.
Well,
Gentle.
it's helping to hold you
Yeah,
accountable,
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, it's what it is because
yeah,
we're all busy. And then to have somebody that, once again, has your best interest at heart and they're holding you accountable. It's like, hey, have you dealt with this
yeah,
yet? You need to talk to this guy,
right,
man.
right,
He's not really doing the best for you guys or whatever
yeah,
it is, but
whatever
it's
it
still
is.
that
Yeah,
accountability,
yeah,
you know?
exactly, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, let's see here. The other thing I really wanted to ask about is, how has coaching affected your relationship with your employees?
it's been positive. I kind of pride myself on having a good relationship with my employees, and I always have. And the reason I say that is because my employees are a top priority, and they always have been, more so than customers, more so than numbers. My
Right.
people and the quality of the environment and the culture that we have here has really been, top three for me from day one. So I feel like I've always had a good relationship, but where Joe and coaching has helped me. I touched on it earlier, actually, the delegation. That's a big one. But distributing responsibility to the talent that I already have, and kind of
Yeah.
building on that talent. And Elite has provided some pathways for me to get some of my employees into additional training, and the master's course, and I had my general manager go to the Eagles course, and so it's a continuation, I would say, of my existing policies and thought processes when it comes to employees. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe brings up, again, he just brings up these little things. Hey, did you think of this? Did you think of that?
Right.
So there's always a way that I can do better by them. And Joe is aware of that. He's fully aware that I really treat my people well, and that's my
He
my
does.
biggest
Yeah.
priority. And
Yeah.
and he comes up with new ways for me to help them and achieve my goal of keeping them as a
Right.
high caliber part of this business that's just so critical and so important.
Wasn't that the secret to growth and success and having a successful
It's the
business is
people.
your good
Yeah,
people, you
Absolutely.
know?
yeah.
Absolutely.
You're only as good
I
as the
mean,
people
Yeah.
around you, right?
That's it. That's it.
totally. And I got to tell you, I've met two of your service advisors that went through the master's course, and they are just awesome guys. I mean, seriously, it's so impressive to see employees that have that vision of, especially with what you guys do in the specialty stuff and the cool stuff that you guys do, and to have two of your guys in one of my classes, and they're just like, they had your vision. And they're up telling the rest of the class, about why they work for SST and why they work for Bryan. And it's like both of them had like strong testimonies of, man, this is right. This is what we do. And it's like, you could feel it from them. And it's like, I just loved it because I can see that you're a strong, charismatic, great leader. I don't mean charismatic in a bad way. I mean, it's a great thing, but I could see that in your guys because they were carrying that torch for you. You're out of the shop for the week, and I can guarantee that those two guys that I know that I met could carry that torch for you and be like, yes, we're SST. We do everything right and for the right reason. And we do it like we're supposed to. And I love that, Brian. I have to tell you, I was really impressed by that. It's cool.
And this is one of the areas that I really enjoy working with Bryan, because a lot of the, when you have it, like you mentioned earlier, Brian, about a younger shop owner, they're so far in the trenches, and they're in that stage, whether it's startup stage or growth stage, where early growth stage, where they're in the trenches and they're really more of a boss, more of a shop owner. They haven't reached that level yet where they become leaders of people, because that's, like Darrin said, that's the true growth of a business, when you become a leader. And your leadership qualities, whether it comes natural to you or whatever the reason, that will bring you to where your goals, where you want to go based on your goals. It will take you there, because anybody can be a boss, and we bring this up at the Eagles course, but to be a leader is so different. And leaders understand that. You mentioned something very, very important about 3 or 4 minutes ago. Your people come first, before customers, before the numbers, and that's what it takes. Because I believe that too. You without the good people, employees, you don't have customers, numbers, and everything else tends to fall into place. Your customer base, your numbers, everything falls into place a lot easier when you become a leader of people, not just a boss or the owner of a business.
You're 100%. You're 100% correct, Joe.
Yep.
Well, you guys are almost out of time here, but Brian,
really? Oh boy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Went fast. Yeah.
Yes, it did. So Brian, if you were, to say anything to anybody that's out there looking at getting a coach, do you have any words that you would tell them about that?
Do it. It's really a no risk scenario, right? You don't sign a contract. You don't have to be signed up for a year. You don't have to have anything like that. So, and this is the way that I went into it myself, is I said, what can it hurt? I'll try it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, see what happens. Right. If I don't like it, I'll cancel it and we'll move on. We'll do something else. So to me, beyond the initial financial obligation, which is minimal, really, there is no kind of downside to it. So try it and see if you get somewhere, see what you can learn, because I guarantee you'll learn something. I don't care if you've been in the industry for 40 years or 2, you're going to learn something. And chances are you're going to be able to apply whatever you learn to your business, and it's going to make an improvement. And any improvement is the direction that you're always trying to go. If you're making a tiny one or a huge one, it doesn't matter. If you're improving, your business is getting better, your employees are going to be better, you're going to make more money, everybody's going to be happier, and life gets better. So, if you can make any kind of improvement, do it. And here's an easy way to do that.
Right. We always joke that the first couple months, you're like, it's a pretty big chunk of change. You're investing into the company. And then later on, after you grow and after you start seeing the value, you're like, it's not even there's like, I would not take that away. Right. I mean, it's like that money is nothing compared to what's happening with the rest of business. It's really,
and if you need to justify it, it's training. It's training. You pay for training for your techs. You pay for training for your advisors and everybody else in the building. Yeah. Where's your training? Yeah. Who's training you?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Well, I mean, I think it's really awesome that you could even be here with us today, because it's one of those things. You're a perfect example, right? You're already successful. You're already doing these things extremely well in your business, but yet you wanted to get to the next level. And whatever that next level is, you just wanted to fine tune some things, figure out stuff that you didn't know, whatever it is.
World domination. That's my next level. Joe knows that. That's where we're going.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Just keep a place for me. I'm not that far. I'm 30 minutes away. Okay.
Yeah. You're right here, Joe. You're right here with me.
That's cool. Well, I mean, what I'd like to do, guys, is, if you don't mind, if you guys just have a couple of closing thoughts you want to share, anything you want to leave with anybody that's listening.
I have a lot of thoughts. I don't no time.
You're
Well,
good.
one thing I want to bring up one thing real quick. I was so thrilled. Brian does these. He organizes these. Part of what he does is motorsport, where he has people that pay him money to get their Porsches ready for the for racing. So he invited me to Lime Rock, which is in Connecticut. Oh, that's in New York, right?
No, Connecticut. Yeah,
Connecticut,
Connecticut.
yeah, Connecticut, Lime Rock, and to see his operation at the racetrack. And I was totally blown away. Totally blown away. I took my wife, which she wasn't that crazy about being at the racetrack. It was too
You didn't get
loud.
April in the car?
Yeah, I know I did. And it cost me dearly, because afterwards we had to take her to the mall. She had to buy some pocketbook or whatever, and then take her out to dinner. So thanks, Brian. But so it caught, but she was also and you know what was amazing? She was asking you questions about this, about that, which I said, wow, that's pretty good. But so again, this goes back to this is what it's all about. I mean, for Brian, a client to invite his coach to come watch his race team, it just blew me away. And I just blew me away. So, yeah, I think that in closing comments, you know, I first of all, I love coaching because again, I want to give back. I want to give
Right.
back. I want to help people, shop owners. I know, like I said earlier, I know what the struggles are in running an automotive repair business. I know what they are, and I tried multiple different things from used cars, quick lube, whatever you want, you know, um, restoration. I tried it all. So, and I understand the complexities of business, but I also understand how well you can do and the rewards. And although you reach a certain point in your life where you physically can't do it anymore, but I can do it mentally, and that's my job right now. So to help a guy like Brian in his business is just tremendous. So yeah, this is what we do at Elite. So I'm just part of I'm proud to be part of this whole complex training and coaching and everything that we do in helping the industry.
Right.
So again, thank you for having me here, and thank you,
Oh yeah,
Brian,
of
for
course, Joe. Thank you.
allowing us to talk to you today.
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you at the racetrack with your
Mm.
wife, and she seemed intrigued, and
She was,
and she
yeah.
was certainly polite about it. But I understand the racetrack is not for everybody. I
Oh, yeah.
even me, it gets to become a long day out there sometimes. But
Well,
it puts
yeah,
things in perspective, though. Talking to Joe and other people, I kind of force myself to step back sometimes and look around, because we all started from square one, right? Like, we've all had a small
yeah,
shop.
Yeah.
We've all had to learn all the
yeah,
lessons. We've had to figure it out along the
yep,
way and the struggles and,
yep,
not being able to
yeah,
pay the bills and all that. And you
yeah,
finally get to
yeah,
a point where you're like, all right, I kind of know what I'm doing. I'm doing okay. And it gets to be reasonably successful, and it's still a struggle every day. It's still hard to keep it all moving and the big machine
yeah,
turning. But to force myself to take myself out of the immersion of it every day and look around and say, like, oh my god, this is a pretty amazing thing, and to
yeah,
realize that I am in control of it, and the people
Yeah.
that come here willingly every day to work for me, and they're generally happy about it, is
that's what it's all about.
such an amazing
Yeah,
It's
feeling
an
of
amazing thing,
accomplishment,
man.
really.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and Joe is good about really helping me kind of take that step back and look around and say, okay, like it's doing its thing, it's working, it's successful. And I, even though I'm constantly striving for better and more, and the next step
which is
and
good.
all of that, like, you got to look around and just say, wow, it's doing what it's supposed to
Yeah,
do, and it's really an amazing
exactly,
thing. So,
exactly. Yeah,
and
good stuff.
That's
thanks to
awesome.
Joe for
Yeah.
that, and thanks
Well,
thanks to
Yeah,
Elite
right?
for that.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, thank you, Brian. It's amazing to me once again to have you on the show here. I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm kind of with a legend with both of you guys here, and it's something that it's kind of humbling because I once again I've met your guys, so I know that you're not just talking. You walk the walk. You talk and you walk the walk, and I've seen it through your people. And then to hear all the stuff from Joe and to hear stuff from other people in the industry about how awesome SST is, and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I love the fact that you guys go to the racetrack. In fact, one of these days I'm going to have to come out there and just go and see what you guys do. Cause I'd love to come and hang out with Ben and Sam and the rest of your people too.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, the operation's incredible.
You're welcome
really
anytime. You're welcome anytime. Anytime you want to come out east, I know it's tough to get out of Colorado.
Goodness,
I lived there for a long
Yeah.
time. It's, but
man,
you're always welcome.
And to see your scale and size of operation is just cool.
It's
so
tremendous.
congratulations on what you've been able to accomplish though. Seriously, it's cool to have you here and to, be able to just be a part of the journey with you too.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, yeah. All right. Well, guys, thank you. And this has been Darrin Barney with Elite and at the Coach's Corner on Elite Radio. And we got some more episodes coming up in the future. So keep your eyes out for things. And reach out to us if you have any questions. And thanks again, guys, for being here with us today. It's been an honor.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Darrin.
Yeah,
it's been a
thanks
pleasure.
again for
Thank you,
having us.
guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Elite Radio, the podcast for repair shop owners by repair shop owners. If you're looking for help in your automotive repair shop, then reach out to Elite. We provide coaching and peer groups, training for your service advisors and managers, and countless complimentary resources, and a whole lot more. Visit EliteWorldwide.com today, and we'll see you next time.